and kind of a little subheading into that would be with the number line. A lot of times we think of rulers with number lines, but that's not always the case. And then I'd like for you to draw just a couple different lines. Let's draw this one. And let's go 1 here, 2 here, and then try to split that like that into 3 parts. You get that? Then the second one, let's go 7 here, 8 here, and let's cut it into 4 parts. Give you a chance to read it as best you can. And fortunately, you have lines on your paper, so you should be able to draw pretty straight lines, because you just have to draw it over top of the nice pretty blue lines that they give you on those papers. I think we've mentioned this before, but you make yourself a little note here. Under number line fractions, that really it's the spaces that are the important thing, not the little tick marks. Spaces are the important part of all that, not necessarily the tick marks. Tick marks will confuse you. Mostly for the simple reason, we're still writing, how many tick marks do you see on this line here? 4 of them. But if you count how many spaces between 1 and 2 this is cut into, there are only 3 of them. Okay? So you're only cutting these lines or into thirds, not into fourths. If you count the tick marks, you start thinking it's fourths. And the book is going to do this. They'll take a nice little arrow, put it maybe right here, which gets messed up in all the rest of my things. How about this? We'll change colors. Let's go red. Let's go red. If I asked you what number is the arrow pointing, what would be the first thing you'd look at? I can do the same thing over here. Let's do one in here. Let's put an arrow right there. I should probably move it so it's right above that. Can I move it? Oh, there you go.
Well,
Let's say I was looking at this. This arrow's pointing right here. The first thing when you look at a number line, before you look at the fraction part of it, is you should look for, no, not the spaces.
the numbers,
Ellie Stewart?
the number down the line.
Yeah, the whole number that it falls between. Because this spot here, this little tick mark, this little dot, this little whatever, falls between 1 and 2, the first thing you should do is write down the whole number 1. Okay, because it is one whole unit. You don't have the rest of it, but it's over here. There's a 0 way back here. You can't see all that there. And then there's a 3 and everything going that way. So that's the first thing. You look at the whole number, write the whole number down. Then, Aiden, you would
The fraction, which would be 1 3/4.
wow, you're my poster child for thinking about this, right? Aiden, how many spaces were between 1 and 2?
3.
That means the bottom of your fraction will be 3, because I cut between 1 and 2 into 3 equal parts. How many spaces over is my dot, Sam?
2.
1 space, 2 space, yeah. That arrow stands for 1 and 2/3. That's why it's important. I didn't cut, this is not cut into 4 equal pieces. It took 4 little slash marks to get my 3 pieces. Okay, it's cut only into 3 pieces and it's 2 of those over. Same thing over here. First thing, what's the whole number? What whole number does that arrow fall between, Brody? What's my whole number?
7.5.
Well, it's not, no, 7 is my whole number, we ain't in half yet. Second, you look at how many spaces are each unit cut into. Between 7 and 8, how many spaces, not how many tick marks. Don't cut the tick marks. Carolina, how many spaces are there?
4.
4, correct. 1, 2, 3, 4. My drawing of them apart aren't the best, but that's always gonna be the bottom of my fraction. And then how many spaces over is it? There's 1 space over, 2 space over, 3 spaces over. That's 7 3/4. Is that kind of making sense?
Yeah.
Sure, why not? Let me give you another one. I'm gonna draw a line. We'll make this one a little tougher. How about 9 and 10? Do the magic of this board. Missed a little bit. I'll do a couple things here. What if I had an arrow pointing here? And what if I had an arrow pointing there? Those 2 arrows are pointing at what fractions? Actually, it's a mixed number if you have a whole number of fractions. You gotta get the same number of spaces on yours as I do. So you may wanna make sure it's close there. John Lick. First one here. What is this arrow pointing to?
9 and 2 sevens.
I don't know, let's count. You count spaces? Here's 1 space, 2 spaces, 3 spaces, 4 spaces, 5 spaces, 6 spaces, yep, 7 spaces. That's the bottom of your fraction. It's 2 over, and you said 9 and 2 sevenths. Everybody get 9 and 2 sevenths? And then once you know how many spaces it is, it's pretty easy to pick this one out. Which would be what? Brady Sovereign?
9 and 6 sevenths.
9 and 6 sevenths. Everybody good with that? Maybe we'll do one more. Make it super. How about this one? $13, $14. I'll let you count. Remember spaces, not the little tick marks. Maybe I'll try to space them out while you're counting. The other ones that are kind of off. Make your life more interesting. How about right here? Who has got what they think is the right fraction that that is pointing to? Ethan says
13.
First of all, how many spaces did you count?
I counted 16
It says 16. I'm hoping I agree with them. Yep.
and 4.
Did you say 14? Now, when there's all those spaces in there, children, maybe something that would be easier for you to do. See all these spaces over here? And there's not as many spaces over here?
I think
Sometimes it would be easier to subtract spaces rather than add spaces. If you know there's 16 of them that get you here, back up 1, this would be 15 16s. This would be 14 16s, and what would this one be?
13.
I believe it's 13, I don't know, I'll count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 16. So this should have been 13. Which, fifth graders, my first speech to you about this, we stubborn Americans, the reason I put this on there is because when we measure lines with rulers, this is what we use. We take an inch and cut it into 16 pieces, and you have to measure it based on those 16 pieces. Which is why measuring in our system is pretty tough, because you gotta keep all these 16 spaces straight. Whereas the metric system, do you know what they measure in? Centimeters and millimeters. And there's no fractions, you always use decimal because it's all based on tenths. So you don't have to worry about any fractions at all. If you're not good with fractions, the metric system is by far a better measuring system. It's better anyway, but we're still stuck in this this is like 300-400 years old, and you know, for some reason we think that we can't get away from it, but that's the way it is. Take a look, please. We'll do just a couple more. Open your books to page 236, please.